Good morning. My name is Sheila Scarborough, and I'm excited to be here over bacon popcorn at the Tavern on Brady about a year ago, in between stuffing our faces and crunching and saying and taking pictures of our popcorn. Cheryl and I talked about me coming here to Tulsa to speak, so I'm excited to have a chance to get to know some of y'all this morning. And for those who don't know it, Becky McCrae is actually my business partner at Tourism Currents, and she and I really don't get to spend a whole lot of time in person together. So it's even a thrill for me that I get to not only come to Tulsa, see Cheryl, meet y'all, but I get to spend a little bit of time with Becky. And so she and I went and ate bacon popcorn last night, because that's the thing you got to do. All right, we're going to talk about Twitter chats this morning. All of the slides have my information here, my Twitter handle. These are the things that I want to go over. Some of it I've kept super basic because there are people in here, and I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand, who are relatively new to Twitter. And it's easy to forget when you use Twitter for a long time. And I got on Twitter in September of 2007, and I was the last of my nerd tribe to join Twitter. Everybody else I knew, including Becky, was already on Twitter. And they're like, "Oh, lady, what is your problem? Like, get on." But I was at South by Southwest when they launched Twitter. Actually, they didn't launch it there, but it got a big push there. And I remember standing in the Austin Convention Center, and they had flat panel screens all around the convention center showing what was then the live tweets, which really weren't that many because not that many were on Twitter yet. The vast majority of the tweets said something along the lines of, "I'm drunk at the corner of 6th and Waller. I'll never make the next panel." And I said, you know, I did college already. Like, I'm not sure why this is useful to my life, this Twitter thing. So it took me a while to get on, but it's easy to forget if you've been on Twitter for a while, there's a language to it, there's a culture to it, there is terminology for it, and if you've been on it a long time, you tend to forget how bizarre a tweet that is full of hashtags and squiggles and weird LOL things, you know, what the heck is that? It's easy to forget that not everybody gets it right away or has experience with that. So we'll cover a few of those things, plus these, and at the end, starting a Twitter chat yourself, because I started a chat for the Association for Women in Communications, of which I'm on the National Board of Directors, and I wanted to have a chat related to communications. So this is not what you think Twitter is. I specifically looked for a photo of a ham sandwich or what I ate for lunch. Many people that I've talked to say, you know, isn't Twitter just that thing where you kind of tell people what you're doing? Yes, kind of. Those sorts of tweets can personalize your profile and make you, it's part of the thing about getting to know someone. It's those little tidbits of information. But Twitter is not, in its most powerful sense, what you ate for lunch, okay? It is a lot more than that. So we're going to review terminology really quick. For those who are not familiar with it, the @ symbol, words that have @ in front of them, are people's Twitter handle, okay? So some examples up here. Cheryl, and many of us end up having multiple Twitter handles. I do, but Cheryl tweets as this. I tweet as myself, Sheila S. And then I want to give a shout out, because I'm a travel and tourism person, to your state tourism organization. @TravelOK is the tourism gang for the state of Oklahoma, and they are very good on Twitter. They're very responsive, so I wanted to make sure I mentioned them. Screenshot, this is what the Travel OK page looks like. So when you're looking for somebody's stream and you want to see, or their account, you want to see kind of what have they been tweeting lately, this is what it looks like. You can get pretty fancy on the background, but you don't have to. And this is the first thing people look at when they come to check you out. They want to see, are you talking? Is it recent? A little bit about you. And this is your typical stream, and I think Travel OK has done a good job with it. The other thing that confuses people is the hashtag, or the crosshatch, I've heard some people refer to it as. And this is where the whole thing rolls into Twitter chats. And the hashtag is something that was a way, started a long time ago, for people to search for certain things on Twitter, and it's kind of developed a life of its own. It actually wasn't started by Twitter itself, it was started by Twitter users. And the hashtag is how you take one particular word or phrase, and you use that hashtag in a tweet, and then people can, through search engines and some other things, gather together all of the tweets that have that hashtagged word in them, and that's how you group together information from a conference or that is tied to a particular area of interest. So most of you know hashtag SMTulsa is the hashtag for our meeting today, and that's where you can go, people who are not here, even people who are here, who want to get a sense of what's going on at that event. That's why you get that question, what's the hashtag? Okay, that's because that allows people to group together a bazillion tweets from a whole bunch of different people all in one spot so you can get a stream of the activity. Here are some of my other favorite examples. The one at the top, Built Heritage, is run by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. It's a hashtag for things related to preserving historic properties, and they also run a monthly chat at the last week, I think the last Wednesday of every month. So, you get some pretty big names who are running chats, which I think is pretty cool. And they have a rotating set of topics that deal with historic preservation. Some of them have dealt with heritage tourism, for example. So I, as a tourism person, make sure that I sit in on that one. But that's one example of a hashtag. My second one, for those of you who want to be 12 years old like me once a week, is Asin Chat. So, I just like saying it, I like typing it, which is actually a chat for people who are involved with associations, okay? Potty brains. Now, so Asin Chat is once a week on, I believe, Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central, and issues of interest to people who are on boards of directors, people who are members of associations, people who are professional association managers, all get together and for 1 hour talk about association-related issues. Perhaps this is helping you to start see, oh, this is how Twitter can be useful to me. I get online at a certain time on a certain day under a certain hashtag, and I am connecting with people of like mind worldwide all about a topic that interests me. This is where I have found the power of Twitter for professional development and growth. That's what really kind of turned my head to see that Twitter was more about being drunk at the corner of 6th and Waller. The third one is one of my favorites as a tourism person, Tourism Chat. It was just yesterday afternoon. It's normally on a Thursday at 2 p.m. Central, and it deals with people who are involved in destination marketing and who are in the tourism and sometimes the hospitality industries as well. The topic yesterday was video. So if you are interested in best practices and what other people are doing to use video to market a destination, hey, here is a whole hour that is super, super useful to you through Tourism Chat. And the last one, how many of you have ever sat in on Ag Chat for agriculture, ranching, and rural issues? Oh my God, thank you. Yes, Mandy and Cheryl, yeah. I am totally a city kid. I tell people, you put a piece of farm equipment in front of me with all those prongs going everywhere, I have no idea. I drive by fields that have green stuff. Okay, I recognize corn. Yeah, you got me. I got the corn down. The rest of that soybeans, I don't know. It's lost on me, okay? But I have sat in periodically on Ag Chat because sometimes they're talking about things that have a relationship to what I do, because they've talked about agritourism on Ag Chat, people who want to do farm stays, people who want to stay at ranches, people who want to go to working farms, and even people who want to talk about farm stands and farmers markets. Don't dismiss a chat out of hand thinking, well, I never have anything to do with that. Sometimes you may find that you're going to have a chat discussion that is going to be absolutely relevant to your business and to what you're doing. So this is what the stream looks like for Ag Chat. This is just a quick blown up snapshot of people who are tweeting, different people and organizations who are tweeting, but all of them have the Ag Chat hashtag in there, and it's an interesting hodgepodge. There's a person from Pennsylvania. There's the National FFA, Future Farmers of America organization, tweeting about something. Ag Blog Feed says something, and then Taylor Johnson, whose Twitter handle is FarmerJohnson71, tweets a link to something called 10 Reasons to Thank a Farmer. And those are the kinds of things that you see. You get a whole group of different kinds of people and different organizations all using that hashtag. You can group their tweets together and get a sense of the conversation. Now, there are some hashtags that are used during a formal chat, and others that are just kind of any tweet that relates to the topic. So, for example, the top one here, event profs. How many event planners do I have in here? Meeting planners, event planners. Okay, event profs is the 800-pound gorilla hashtag on Twitter for anyone who is involved in event planning and meeting planning. So if you have information, a question, a link, a contribution that deals with meeting planning, you can put that tweet out and then include the hashtag eventprofs, and it goes into the eventprofs stream, and people can keep an eye on that. Eventprofs is also a chat. Even though it doesn't say chat in the hashtag, it is also a, I believe, twice a week chat at 2 different times, so you can hit it, because these things are worldwide. You know, you've got people in Europe, you've got people in Asia, all around the world, all piling onto these things. Eventprofs, I think, is a very powerful hashtag for that industry. TBEX. TBEX, for me as a travel person, is tweets that are related to travel. And it is also a conference of travel bloggers. And this, I don't have to tell this group. I have to tell some groups, yes, bloggers have conferences, okay? There are not only travel blogging conferences, there are beer blogging conferences, there are quilt blogging conferences, there are dad blogger conferences. So anyone who thinks that bloggers and geeks, you know, sit in the basement with their jammies on and have no social skills, we all know, y'all all know, they're just not hanging around with the right geeks, okay? First thing geeks want to do when they meet you on Twitter is say, when can we get together IRL, in real life, right? All right. So TBEX is a conference, and it's also a hashtag that is related to, that are tweets that are related to travel topics. And finally, Fry Photos. This is a fun one. If you enjoy photography, either making photos or just looking at photos or both, this is a guy who I think is based in the UK who every week picks out a topic for photos, and on Fridays you can post a link to your photo. You can upload it directly to Twitter. You can do it through Flickr, TwitPic. There's a couple different ways to go at it, but basically pick a photo that relates to the theme. And they've had, you know, obvious ones in the wintertime. I think he did ice, but he's done kind of more cerebral ones too, you know, dreams. Wow, what could you do with a photo related to dreams? And the cool thing about Fry Photos is, with a couple of exceptions, and every one of these hashtag streams is going to have 1 or 2 clowns who hadn't gotten the memo that you don't get on here to sell your junk, right? You know how it is with trolls. Most people are just on here because they love gorgeous pictures. And so it's a non-selly sell, as Chris Brogan would say, a non-selly sell kind of environment where you can just enjoy great photos, share your own photos, retweet other people's photos. I really like Fry Photos. It's not a chat. It's a Friday, all-day sort of happening, but it's all drawn together. The tweets from that are all drawn together through the use of a hashtag. I hope I've given you a sense that if there's a subject, there is probably a Twitter chat or at least a hashtag related to it. I do want to caution you, however, how many of you have seen those folks on Twitter who hashtag every word? Okay, hashtag don't, hashtag do, hashtag that. You know, really, don't get too carried away with the hashtag thing. If you hashtag and people who hashtag every word in their bio, that's like loser, fail. Please don't do that. You look like a moron, okay? Really, you're not impressing anyone, and some of the words I see people hashtagging, nobody's searching for. Are you trying to look cool? You just look like a doofus. All right? Don't be that guy or gal, okay? Hashtags, like anything in life, in moderation, okay? But there's something for everyone, and that's what I think is exciting about it. Chats are particularly powerful because they are a set time and day where folks can get together and talk about a subject. And that's where, again, you can learn so much. And here are some of the basics for those of you who have not participated in a chat. They do go by very quickly. If you think, gosh, you know, I don't have an hour to devote to this, I'm telling you, a solid chat is going to give you more professional development value than, present company accepted, almost any conference that you would go to, okay? And it costs you zip, zilch, nothing, de nada, okay? And you can watch it from your phone, you can watch it from your computer, you can watch it wherever you are. Hugely valuable. Goes by very quickly, normally, as I said, about an hour long. Some chats are more structured than others. I mentioned here on the slide Q1A1 for question 1 and answer 1, when the hostess says, okay, I'm going to pose a question or a statement, let's discuss it for the next 5 or 10 minutes in the chat, and then related tweets going back in response to that to Q1 are A1, so you'll know which A your Q is for. That is what happens in a relatively structured chat. There are other chats that are much more free-for-all. I don't, frankly, many times find those all that valuable because without some sort of structure or at least discussion topic, people just get on there, the trolls show up, they puke their links, and you go, this is not valuable to me. All right, so a led conversation, one that is led by a host or at least some kind of boundary or structure, I find much more helpful. So if you're seeing tweets with Q's and A's in them and you're like, what the heck is that? Look around for a chat hashtag in that tweet. You've probably just stumbled on the middle of a conversation and people are doing questions and answers. It's also a good idea, and I usually find in long-running chats, that the host has set up some sort of a home base, something, a quick, easy blog, you know, maybe even just a WordPress.com blog, Facebook page, which is what Tourism Chat uses, some way that I can go to a central place and learn more about the chat, learn more about the host, confirm what time of day, when it is, all that kind of basic information. Really recommend, you know, if you search around, I'll do some Googling so you can figure out where the home base is and get more background. Also, it's good, hopefully the host has put up links to transcripts of previous chats. So it's pretty straightforward. Those who were wondering about finding a chat, you know, all right, I'm interested in a certain thing, how do I know where it is? You're doing a standard Google thing, okay? But you just need to use the right keywords in your search string because you're looking for something very specific. And so there's some ways that I would recommend looking for a very specific sort of chat, like the middle one there, birding, okay? If you're in the community that is interested in birds, you know it's not called bird watching. You know it's called birding, all right? So you're already part of the tribe because you know the lingo. Use your lingo, use your keywords, and then add something to do with Twitter or chat, something that gives the search engine those keywords that tell you very specifically, tells the search engine very specifically what it is that it needs to go hunt down and find for you. This is a relatively new resource here at the bottom. There used to be a giant Google document, and bless his heart, the man that started it, it became this beast. But you could add your Twitter chat to it, and I checked it a couple weeks ago, and it has unfortunately gone defunct. I think the guy maybe who set it up just got tired of dealing with it, or trolls showed up as usual, or what. Okay, moved on the, all right, I looked and it didn't look like anyone was doing anything with it, but this just popped up here, and I'm going to put this presentation up on SlideShare so that you'll be able to find it. But this is the URL, Tweet Reports. Looks like they're starting to gather together a list of chats. Those of you, who have not been on Twitter for a while or are on it but don't really know what to do with it, Twitter, on the one hand, does have a culture and a boundary around it in terms of sort of online behavior, but it's also a little bit anarchic. You don't have to ask anyone's permission to start a hashtag. If there's something that you want to gather together tweets and you want to start a hashtag, well, the first thing you do is go do a search. All right, do a little homework first. Make sure that there's not already a hashtag that's very active being used. But you don't have to ask mama permission. You just kind of get in there and do your thing. Okay, so this person did not ask permission to start gathering together chats. The reason that Tweet Reports is doing it is because they also offer a service where they can draw up a transcript of Twitter chats. I mean, they're no fool. So they're trying to get people to come in to their site, check out chats rather, and then be able to say, what do these guys do? Oh, they do transcripts. Because you have to remember, although the Library of Congress is supposedly saving all tweets from time immemorial, tweets begin from regular search to disappear after a week or two, all right? The only way to hang on to a really great tweet is to, of course, screenshot it, but also favor it. That'll hang on to it for you. Or capture it in some sort of a transcript tool, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But here's one place you can go if you're looking for relevant chats. So I did a quick search for gardening, and doggone yes, there is a gardening chat. So those of you who are out there in your yard digging around, this is a place where you can go and talk to on a regular basis with people about gardening-related issues. There is something with regard to a Twitter chat for everyone. I'm going to do a quick list of a few ideas for you. Again, this will be up on SlideShare, but please be aware, you can get overwhelmed very quickly with these. And I will tell you that I did so when I first launched Tourism Currents with Becky. I knew a lot about travel, but I wasn't necessarily all that up to speed on the tourism industry, on the destination marketing industry. So what I started doing was using tourism conference hashtags to go sit in, if you will, on a conference that was going on so that I could see what tourism people were talking about at their state conferences. Oklahoma has a governor's conference on tourism. In fact, every state in the U.S., many of the provinces in Canada, there are conferences worldwide that deal with tourism issues, and so I noted down the hashtag for the one in Ohio, the one in California, the one in Texas, the one in Maine, and I would go dig around, find out what the hashtag was, and let's just say there are some conferences and state organizations that are a little more Twitter savvy than others. So you may have to do some detective work. But I found that hugely valuable in terms of narrowing down what was it that I needed to be focused on in the tourism industry. That's how I got a lot of my knowledge, was sitting on Twitter hashtags and simply listening. One mouth, two ears, just like mom and dad say, listening to what people were asking, talking about, the kinds of links that they were sharing, the kinds of people that showed up on the hashtag, the kind of avatars that I started seeing, more and more. Oh, that person always puts out good stuff. Oh, she's always sharp. Oh, he's always not sharp. You kind of get to know the community, all right? These are some chats that I have come across over time that I think are valuable to you. Nonprofits, designers. I want to make a quick mention of the top one, blog chat. This can be a very difficult chat to join if you're not familiar with chats. Mac Collier's guy in northern Alabama, fabulous guy, just has a new book out, in fact, about rock star marketing, which is pretty cool. Mac is the most wonderful Southern gentleman you ever met in your life. Sharp as a tack, started blog chat several years ago, now gets major sponsorships for it. Including, they had a big sponsorship 1 month of a pen company. I think it was Parker Pens, and you're going, a pen company sponsoring a Twitter chat. Okay, let me tell you what, pen enthusiasts came out of the woodwork. The pen people arrived. But blog chat is an 800-pound gorilla. It moves super quickly. Mac usually has either a guest host and or a set topic for the chat, but it moves, okay? So if you choose blog chat as your very first chat to get into, you may find your head kind of getting blown off by it. And then he has an open mic one periodically that, again, to me, a lack of structure sometimes can cause problems. Yes? Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Great, thank you very much. The tip was, and this is true, I'd forgotten that because I don't check in necessarily that early, but blog chat's the kind of chat that people are on there chatting before the chat even starts. Like a half an hour ahead of time, people are already on there. It's like the cocktail party, everybody shows up early. Hi, I'm here. But Mac always comes on and says, hey, if you're new to this, she mentioned there is a link back on his blog that says Blog Chat 101. Hey, if you've never done this kind of thing before, here's what to expect. Great tip, thank you. Go read that, take a look at it. I love blog chat. It's probably going to apply to almost everyone in here, but I will tell you it can be a tough nut if it's your very first chat. Here are some others that I think are valuable. The solo PR hashtag is interesting to me because like so many things that we're seeing, they begin to morph. Just like TBEX is a hashtag for travel-related tweets and a conference, solo PR has begun doing the same thing. Kelly Crane just had what I think was the first solo PR conference. I believe it was in Atlanta a couple weeks ago. And I didn't realize the conference was going on, and I kind of eyeballed the solo PR hashtag period, and all of a sudden they were talking about conference stuff, and here's hotels in Atlanta. I'm like, why is she talking about that on the hashtag? And then I realized, oh, she's having a conference, all right? So again, first thing geeks do is say, where can we get together offline? Mac Collier has done the same sort of thing with blog chat. Very often he will do blog chat live, where everyone gets together physically in a place and has a discussion live and online, and that's the blog chat for that week. And in fact, he's having a big, giant live blog chat in LA here pretty soon. I have to find what the hashtag is for that. But it's a way of taking the online discussion and moving it to offline. But these are some others that I think you would find to be helpful. So participating in a Twitter chat. Like anything else, I highly recommend just kind of hang out and watch it first, all right? Most important thing to do, and I can tell you this as a chat organizer, is just show up, okay? Because if you're not running a chat that's this big, giant, fast-moving thing with hundreds of people like blog chat, as a chat host, I can tell you, although I'm very good at talking to myself, it does get old, and it does feel lonely. And you know there's people out there lurking, and you just kind of wish they would at least send a little tweet out that says, hi, I'm here. You know, I don't have an answer to that last question, but, you know, I'm here. I mean, I have multiple Twitter handles, and I am not above tweeting as Sheila S. and then answering it as Freelance Austin, and then coming in under another handle, and I'll send a DM to somebody, and I can say, hey, can you, like, come over here and talk? All right? So please show up. What you have to say is valuable, even if you don't have specific expertise. Please be there. It really helps, especially for new chats. Your basics of getting started on Twitter. I believe we had a previous speaker. Was it Mandy who already talked about kind of what people look for in a profile? Who was it that talked? Was it Cheryl? Thank you. Sorry. Cheryl, who was talking about what you need to look for in a Twitter profile. Yeah, sorry. But it's absolutely true. Take some time with that avatar. Take some time with that bio. Make sure there's a link so people can go find out more about you. And whatever you do, don't be one of these egg people. All right? We all know who these are, right? These are people who can't seem to figure out how to put up an avatar, or they're spammers, and all they do is come on, set up a Twitter account, and flood until they finally get blocked and shut down. So I've known people. There's one who is fairly prominent in a tourism organization who has had an egg for about 3 years now. And whenever I talk to her, I'm like, you got to lose the egg. The egg's got to go. And, you know, oh, I don't have a picture that looks really good. I'm like, I don't care what you have to do, but nobody's paying attention to the egg people. Don't be eggs, all right? So, Mandy, great profile here. You know, photo, let me see what you look like. All right, you're on the internet. All right, you're going to have to kind of get over that face nervousness thing. Go hire a good professional photographer for a good headshot if you need to. They'll make you look good. But who wouldn't want to follow Mandy? There's chocolate behind her. Right? Okay, yeah. So personalize, make things interesting, make, you know, what you present to the world, just like the Oklahoma one with nice pictures of flowers and things like that. What you put in front of the world, make that something that matches who you are, what you are about, and gives people a sense of what kind of person you are and that you're not an egg. Lurking is okay. One thing as a chat person, both as a participant and as a host, that drives me bananas is when someone shows up, dumps a link to their latest blog post, and I never hear from them again. That's just a major etiquette fail, okay? Or people who are not paying attention to the fact that a chat is going on, even on a hashtag that has chat in it, and they show up and dump a completely unrelated, off-topic comment or link. You know, really? Pay attention. If you've participated in the chat before, you know what time it is. You're going to know some of the other faces that are going to show up. But if you're new, that's okay. Show up and say, hey, my first time on the chat, glad to be here. And then just kind of hang out and see how things go. The host may get desperate. If it's a very quiet chat and you've actually said, hey, I'm here, the host may kind of back at you and say, and what are your thoughts on this, @Sheila S? And I'll try to think of some thoughts, because I know how it is to be the host and not have anybody thinking thoughts or saying them. So be helpful, but you know, keep it on topic, keep it focused. People are only there for an hour. They don't have a huge amount of time, and no one wants to see you talking about me. Shed light on other folks, bring value to the discussion. And if you know someone, maybe this isn't your topic, but you stumble on a chat or find out about a chat that you know would be great for Susie, that you know would be great for Joe, hey, ping them. Hey, you know, no magic here. Hey, @Joe Smith, there's a chat going on right now about blah, blah, blah. Thought you'd be interested. Hashtag for the chat, all right? Be the kind of person who helps grow these discussions, because as chat hosts, we really, really appreciate that. And if you know someone or you can help grow the community, by all means, please do that. Tools that you need to kind of keep your arms around this. Once you get involved in Twitter chats, you may find that web-based Twitter doesn't work quite as well for you anymore. You can go a long way on web-based Twitter, and that's fine, but there are some other things that when things are flying by a little bit too quickly, that you may find helpful. And here are some of the things that I use. A lot of people really, the only search engine that they use is a little box maybe up at top. There's a search.twitter.com. There's a search engine, all right? Now, it's kind of like for Facebook. It's dicey at best sometimes, and you kind of have to hit the right word. But do some searching around using that search engine, and sometimes you can put in a hashtag and, of course, have it call up all of the tweets that are related. And then if somebody who doesn't understand what a Twitter chat is, like your boss, all right, bring up that search engine, feed in the hashtag, get all the tweets lined up, tied into your industry. Yes, there's one for civil engineers and transportation engineers. I mean, there's one for everyone, all right? Healthcare, everything you imagine. And then take that to your boss and say, here's what's going on. This is just like Facebook. Facebook is work. Twitter is work. It's not playing on the computer if you're doing it right, all right? This is professional development stuff, and if you've got coworkers or a boss that are skeptical, sometimes just showing them what's going on in that search engine can be helpful. I will also tell you that Becky and I have used this search engine when we have people in the tourism organizations who say, oh, our visitors aren't on Twitter. And we just bring up the search engine, type in their town, as we did with Ponca City, tweets come up, and that opens some eyeballs, so that's a helpful little thing. Dashboards, I'll show you how my TweetDeck is set up. Hootsuite is an alternative. If you find yourself, like me, getting a little bit crazy about hashtags, and you want to be able to follow a number of them simultaneously, and you don't want to have to retype them in every single time into web-based Twitter, you can set up columns through TweetDeck or Hootsuite tied into a hashtag. You can also tie it into a search engine, just a plain word as well. And I'll show you how I do that for tourism, which is a pretty fast-moving word on TweetDeck. TweetChat, I'm proud to say, was developed by a guy in my town in Round Rock, Texas, Brooks Bennett, and it is a way for you to participate in a chat. You connect your Twitter account with TweetChat. You tell it which hashtag or chat that you are following, and then a little series of boxes show up, and all the tweets are brought in there for you, and then when you create a tweet, it will automatically put the hashtag in, so you don't have to remember it, and it counts the number of characters, so it tells you, okay, we're automatically putting the hashtag in for you, and here's how much space you have left. It's very helpful, and I use it all the time during a chat to keep track of things. There are apps for your phone. I have run AWC Chat on the side of the road near Waco numerous times because it seems like I'm always going someplace on a Thursday at 11:30, which is when my chat is, and I'm always near Waco when I'm traveling. I don't know what's up with that, but I've pulled off many's the time to pull out my phone and run the chat from my phone. It's a little laborious with those incy little keyboards, but you can do it. I use TwitDroid. I don't have an iPhone. My iPhone folks in here, who has a recommendation for an app for keeping track of Twitter on your iPhone? Okay, come on. Now, I know somebody in here has an iPhone, and I know they keep track of Twitter. Do you use some kind of an app for that, or you just do mobile or web-based Twitter? Just straight Twitter. Okay. Okay. All right. Yeah, we've gone through a lot of changes and iterations with regard to tools. Yes, ma'am. Oh, okay. Tweetcaster for Windows phones. All right. For you BlackBerry holdouts, any ideas for you BlackBerry? I mean, they're trying. They woke up last week and said, oh, gosh. Sorry. Yeah, that. Talk about big money making you stupid. Talk about getting fat, dumb, happy, and lazy up there in Canada. They had a good thing going. They dominated the market, and they totally hosed it. I digress. All right. So, smartphone apps, transcripts. Again, trying to save all these great conversations. And the question you're going to get in a chat is, gosh, I can't make that time today. I'm in Waco traveling, whatever it is. I can't make that time. Is there going to be a transcript? I use Chirp Story for capturing all the tweets and a certain hashtag for AWC chat. I have also used Storify. You can do a lot of different things with Storify, not just tweets, but I have used it, for example, at South by Southwest, last week before last, it's all running together. I sat in on a couple of panels at South by that had a very active Twitter stream, one that was related to East versus West Coast journalism. And lots of activity on the hashtag, and I thought, if somebody doesn't capture all this, and there's some great discussions here about, should New York still be the center of publishing in a distributed world or not, some great discussions. So I went ahead, logged into my Storify account, and made up a Storify to capture all the tweets from that session. And then I pushed it out later once I'd made it with the hashtag for the session and the South by Southwest hashtag so that anyone who had missed it could see it. And then people who had been in the session who were interested retweeted it. And so that's a way to get those conversations going out there. Starting your own chat, I will tell you, it's not for the faint of heart. It's a noisy world out there. There are a lot of chats already. When I wanted to start one for the Association for Women in Communications, open to anyone but on communications topics, I discovered that there was already something called Comms Chat on communication topics. But it was UK-based, and so the times were all, you know, GMT, and from what I could tell, the way that I wanted to structure AWC chat, there wasn't going to be a whole lot of conflict. But I did, you know, look around and I thought, do I want to compete with these guys? Do I want to join these guys? Or do I want to go ahead and continue and do my own setup? But I will tell you that, you know, do some research. Make sure you're not duplicating effort or that there isn't somebody you could combine with. Decide what, and this is, I give some of the same advice for people who want to start a blog, all right? Okay, you want to start a blog? That's great. Sit down, set up your editorial calendar, and tell me what your first 10 posts are going to be. 60 cycle hum. Okay, you need to be able to project out what you're going to be doing so that you can give that chat its best possible start. Because the first few, you know, get your friends there. Hey, I'm doing a Twitter chat. Would you please show up? Retweet things, participate. You're going to get a trajectory going, but you have to have interesting stuff. It's like anything else. You have to be bringing value. You have to be doing something that people say, wow, I need to carve an hour of my time out for this. It's that important. It's that good. I will tell you, I confess, there have been days where AWC chat topic was chosen within a couple of hours of the chat. Well, maybe not that bad. Maybe late the previous day, right? So the night before. And our topic tomorrow is, just decided 5 minutes ago, so-and-so. And then we jump in and get going. Whenever I do that, I kick myself because I like to draw together resource links. I like to connect with people who might be interested in that topic, and I'm not allowing myself enough time to do that. So think through what it is you want to accomplish. Is this something that you're using to support your business? You better figure out specifically, you know, I want to make myself an authority figure on XYZ. You better think through, how is this chat going to do that? Because you are taking on a lot of work to do it and to do it right. And if you don't do it well, then you're not exactly establishing yourself as an authority figure. You're establishing yourself as someone who can't follow through with stuff, which is not really the image you want, I assume. There was a question back here? Are you just stretching? Focused. Okay, good. Okay, good. Thank you. Yeah, participation, it can be tough. And there are going to be some lonely days out there. Just keep talking. Man, just keep talking. There have been a couple of times where I've tweeted, Bueller? Bueller? I have, you know, and there's some lurker out there who's like, I'm here. I'm sorry. I didn't have anything to say, but I'm here. Like, that's fine. Just somebody talk to me so that I'm not talking to myself amongst my 3 accounts. So I'd be happy to take some questions here. And the other thing that I wanted to try to do was, real quick, let me scroll over to it. This is my tweet deck, okay? And you can line up these columns any way you prefer. It usually starts out at like a default, and you can move these guys around. So I have mine set up. To the far left over here is people who have referred to @Sheila S in some way, okay? So that way I hear when people are talking about me, people who have followed me, people who have favorited a tweet of mine. Direct messages are in this column here. This is another great thing about Twitter tools is when you start following a lot of folks, and if you're like me, I follow people who are interesting. I don't just follow people in tourism and travel. I follow anyone who's interesting because I'm interested in knowing everything about everything. How many want to know everything about everything people do I have in here? Is it not exhausting to be us or what? Right? So I rapidly just found that my tweet stream was just full of all kinds of things that weren't necessarily all that useful. And a tool like TweetDeck or like Hootsuite, or if you want to stick with web-based Twitter, your Twitter lists allow me to say, all right, you hold a gun to my head and say, you can only hear from 50 people. Who's it going to be? Who really, really, really matters? You can kind of rack and stack a little bit, and that's what I do with my key tweets column, which is over here. Then this is where it gets kind of fun. Let's see if I can move it. Where's the slider? Is there a slider? Hang on, this is, here we go. Come on, here we go. So, This is some freelance Austin and tourism currents columns. Some more freelance Austin, and now I'm getting into AWC chat. So, ats, direct mentions, direct messages. This is tourism current stuff. This column right here is me just following the word tourism, okay? Twitter's search engine has gotten good enough that you can just put in a regular word, but you'll notice that it's kind of scrolling pretty frequently. There are a lot of tweets with the word tourism in them, and it's pretty active. So they come from all around the world, and sometimes they're useful, sometimes they're not, but I do find for tourism currents that I get a worldwide perspective by just following that word. You can follow a word or two keyword related to your industry as well. South by Southwest, interactive, tourism chat, SMTulsa has a line here. TBEX, Fry Photos, and SoMeT, which is a social media for tourism conference that I'm following. There's a version in the US and a version in Australia. So I've set up the search terms here at the top, and you can do this where you do a Boolean where it says, I want SoMeT 13 or SoMeT 13 US for the US conference, or SoMeT 13 AU for the conference in Australia, or SoMeT for someone who can't figure out all that and just puts in SoMeT. And that sucks in all of it so that I can keep track of the symposium on social media for tourism, because in my industry, that's where the uber geeks hang out, and I want to know what they're talking about. You can schedule tweets ahead of time, and so there's a column here for any that you have scheduled. You can follow lists. So I followed a list from Robert Scoble, actually, or somebody else of top journalism people who are tweeting. Here's Comms Chat, tech event organizers, anthropology, because I want to know everything about everything. Hang on. There we go. Come on, give me my, there we go. It's my slider. Now, I'm going to go all the way to the end where you'll see my regular timeline. These are all more, yeah, I'm sick, right? Don't do this at home. The one that you see here, these are all the people I follow. So, if you want to see what a Twitter stream looks like when you're following about 15,000 people, it looks like that, which is why I have a key tweets column, because I'm kind of ADD, but I'm not that ADD, okay? I'd lose my mind doing that all day long, okay? That's not particularly valuable, and that's why I shove it. That's why I customize the dashboard and shove it all the way over to the right so that it doesn't blow my brain up while I'm trying to keep track of other hashtags. I believe that was the main tool. Oh, there was one other tool I wanted to show you in addition to TweetDeck or Hootsuite. This is what Tweet Chat looks like when you have it lined up on a particular hashtag, and Cheryl has, I believe, Cheryl, you've logged in as yourself, and then she said, all right, we want to follow SMTulsa. So up here, here's the hashtag we're following, and Tweet Chat is pulling in all of the related hashtags for SMTulsa. If you also look way up, you'll see a little box. This says pause, refresh speed, user control, and toggle font. You will find the refresh speed and the pause to be very helpful during a busy chat, because when it just starts flowing and flowing and flowing, it looks very much like that column did on the far right-hand side of my TweetDeck. You know, just sick, right? And you go, excuse me, I'm a human, and I'm a pretty fast reader, but can we just like pause for a moment? There's a pause button in Tweet Chat that allows you to kind of, whoa, get your head around whatever is being discussed. And I find that that's a super helpful tool during chats. So Twitter chats, those of you who've been on the fence about Twitter, or like most people that I know, they're on Twitter because they feel like they should be, because everybody else is, but they go, Sheila, I don't get it. I don't get it. It's a ham sandwich, what you're eating for lunch, right? No. So, if you do nothing else with Twitter, but find the chat or the hashtag that is related to your business or related to your industry, and devote 1 hour a week, every other week, whenever the chat is, to dive in there and have an intensive discussion with like-minded folks, I think that you will find Twitter is the best learning and the best professional development tool you could ever experience, and I highly recommend it. Thanks for your time.